of giving hope. You put everything in perspective. We need to really wake up and move forward. I mean, you are waking us up with your talk, and we'll proceed further. And we have our second speaker, another Robin, but not as strong as Robin's. I mean, because he doesn't have S, he's just a Robin, and but he's a tough guy. And he withstood two hurricanes, he and his company. And if you look at him, he had a tryst with Shims way back in 1999. He was there with Shims for 3 years or 4 years till 2001. Three also was involved, I think. Then he has taken a hiatus for 10 years. He lost a lot of money and he took a hiatus from Shimp and came back into Shimp in 2013 with the API. And basically he started his company to sell fresh shrimps to American market. It's an indoor shrimp farm. And then afterwards, it transformed into a breeding program as well. And he has become a rock star in China. He sells about close to 250,000 animals there. All in all, he sells about 500,000 animals, I think. He is number one as far as sale of broodstock is concerned, number one in the world. I mean, number wise. And his animals are supposed to be tough, as he is tough. His animals are also tough, and he's quite a passionate guy. He's a thoroughbred entrepreneur. He dabbled with several businesses, but now he's stuck with our shrimps, and he's doing pretty good. I mean, his business model is also interesting. He sells PLs from his facility, and he sells fresh shrimp to the gourmet restaurants of US, and he also sells broodstock, and he happens to be the number one broodstock seller today. And I welcome Robin Pearl, and his talk is when the going gets tough, tough get going. Over to you, the tough guy.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, or actually good evening, most of you. Really appreciate the the kind introduction, Ravi. I mean, you're going a little bit overboard. The point about losing money before, I lost money again the second time as well. It's not that easy. Anyway, I really appreciate this and the opportunity to present my side of things. And I have somewhat of a unique perspective because I did just recently travel through for the first time in 2 years through most of Asia, and every single time you do that, you learn. And I'm a relatively a newcomer, so you're going to hear from a lot of people who have been in this industry much longer than I, and certainly have lots of respect for everyone that's in the industry. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't have fancy degrees, but I'm a business guy, and I look at situations and I say, okay, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And my talk is when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I want to share credit with Ravi, because we're talking. I said, okay, what do you think you should say? And we came up with this title together. So thank you very much for doing that. Let me go into this. Ravi, please tell me when I'm running out of time, sir, because I do have quite a few slides.
You have about 25 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. So, India should be the leader in shrimp production. You have all the things, and there's a lot of things that Robin's McIntosh spoke about earlier today and or in the previous presentation. So I don't want to become repetitive, but I agree with pretty much everything he said. And there's opportunity, and everybody today wants to compare India with Ecuador, and there's really the graphs that he showed were really kind of shocking, where you see how Ecuador has grown and then India has kind of plateaued. So I call it stagnating. Why are you guys stagnating, and what is it? And so when I was here the last travel through India last month, I got a bunch of reasons why, and everybody has an opinion. Everybody says, what's going on, and they're blaming genetics, blaming prices, blaming disease, and these are all things. But is this really? While we can all complain, is this really something that uh, that solves the problem. And so, as a realistic business person, not as a scientist, I've just seen myself with my own eyes that the fastest shrimp growing shrimp simply have lower survivals. And unfortunately, I mean, we want to have shrimp that grow fast. We want to have shrimp that survive. We want to all have one, but it doesn't work. And so, it seems like we're in a downward cycle in India where, farmer loses money, complains to the hatchery, then the hatchery gives bonus animals to the farmer. The farmer is then happy, he gets extra animals, and then he cannot handle it, and then diseases come in. And again, many of the same things that Robin's mentioned in his previous talk is like, why does a farm in India get with the same animals get a disease, whereas a farm in maybe Ecuador does not, or maybe they both have the disease, but it manifests itself in one place and not on the other one. So there's a downward spiral that's just going, and as this whole seminar is aptly called, nobody's happy, and everybody's really, really worried. So what can we do about this? And so, very, 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 well said, and obviously it's been repeated many times. It's hey, something doesn't work, change it, do something different. And if I go back to the previous slide, it says, okay, what we're doing right now is not working, so we need to do something different. So again, this is my talk. There is a solution. It's time to get tough. And I appreciate Robin's McIntosh in the previous presentation where he says robustness is the new thing, which is something that we've been pushing for the last couple of years. And so farmers who stock really strong shrimp, so shrimp that can survive, shrimp that can handle the stresses, shrimp that can handle disease, and if you manage them appropriately, then you can make money. And there's no better example than Ecuador right now. And it's, if we didn't have Ecuador to show, then I think we all be a lot more worried, but we can see how it can be done, and we can see how it turns around. So if you do use good shrimp and strong shrimp, and you manage them appropriately and stock for the biomass that you can handle, then you can make a crop and you can make money. And, the sour face becomes happy because it's all about having happy farmers. And again, having just traveled to Asia, I was really pleasantly surprised to see, farmers that were doing that and were getting, and it's the whole industry is based on the farmer making money. If the farmer doesn't make money, if the farmer is not successful, none of you hatchery guys, none of you the feed guys, none of the processing guys, nobody else will be happy either. So we have to find a way to make the farmer happy. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this was from a previous presentation. But basically, I think at this point, everyone knows that Ecuador is leading the way right now, and it's there's some good lessons to learn. So why is Ecuador successful? Well, for years they have been selecting genetics based on survival. They really haven't concentrated on SPF stocks. They haven't concentrated on many other things. They said, hey, we just want to choose animals that can survive, and they have been improving their farming practices. And so, when I hear a farmer in India say, oh, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, the farmers, I mean, they may have more money today in Ecuador, but they're not necessarily all very rich farmers. And so there's a continuous improvement process that needs to take place. And I think that when you look at, these are the two main reasons why Ecuador has become successful. They've been able to turn this around. They certainly have had their challenges marketing shrimp. I mean, China just cut them off and this and that. So there's challenges that they're facing, just like India is facing. So, but these are two key things that are different. And so that's why I want to focus on the survival or robustness or hardiness or whatever you want to call it. So my message to the industry and to the farmers is that you need to choose animals that have higher survival. You need to choose animals that can handle the stresses of the particular farmer's ponds, because not everybody has ideal ponds. And I think we can all look at certain strains that do extremely well. I mean, they grow beautiful, but if you need to have the proper conditions, and if you as a farmer cannot give the proper conditions, then why are you selling this animal to the as a hatchery? Why are you selling this to the farmer? And simply saying, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of bonus animals, we're going to make you, that's not the solution. The solution is to give the farmer the best PLs possible that are selected to thrive in your farmer customers' ponds. And I truly believe that, if the hatchery industry in India starts really looking at, okay, what is best for the farmer, then I think that there's going to be changes where the farmers are going to be loyal. I mean, as a farmer myself, I would always, if I'm happy with something, I'm not changing. Don't come to me with new ideas. Don't come to me with new protocols. Or if something works for me, I'm not going to change. And so I think that there needs to be a sea change in India where how this interaction is. And I've seen a lot of instances where, the farmer will blame the hatchery and the hatchery will blame the farmer. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's simply not productive. I think there's no question at this point that SPF matters. They need to be, the stocks that you use have to be SPF. There's 0 cents to distribute diseases or 0 cents to add this additional issue to the farmers. It's already more difficult enough. The other thing I found last time I was in India was that I see hatcheries, they're mixing, certain hatcheries are mixing broodstock, and they do buy SPF, but they're mixing their different families or different suppliers. And okay, that's, it may make sense. And I've seen, reports where, wow, this really works well. The thing is that, all of us breeding companies are spending a huge amount of time and effort trying to get that perfect cross to our customers. So the minute that you say, I'm going to take a male from this program and cross it with a female from this program and play your own genetic game, it may work for a cycle, or maybe you get lucky for 2 cycles, but there's no consistency. There's no certainty that this is going to work. So I would highly recommend that when you do make the investment in these broodstock, that you breed them the way that the breeder or the genetic program told you to breed them, because there's really no guarantee that it's going to be successful in the future. Again, I don't think I have to repeat this. I think everybody knows. Feed high quality diets to your animals. And again, I really feel that this bonus thing is really it's counterproductive. I mean, I know that you guys are all competing and say, okay, I give more bonus than you give bonus, but take a step back. Where does this bonus thing come from? Bonus thing comes from because there's generally low survival, or the farmer complains because he lost money. And so it will be much better to say to the farmer, look, you can only stock 1 lakh in your pond. Don't put 3 lakhs in your pond and expect all the other ones to die. Stock for what your pond can do, because you have a much better chance of having a good crop, because you're actually having animals that can get all the oxygen, all the feed and everything else that they need, rather than expecting a huge amount of mortality, which is, again, it creates a downward circle. Give them clear usage instructions. Basically say, okay, this is how you should do this. Give them a feeding table. Give them information. I see there's a lot of things lacking. Now, a lot of farmers are stubborn and they say, oh, this is how we do things. But I think that, again, this is a turning moment for the industry, possibly, where, if something is not working and you're not happy and you're losing money and you're not really sure, then, stop doing the same thing, do something differently. And so, that goes for how you feed, for how you manage your ponds, for the genetics that you're using. And that's why we feel that API is something that is an animal that really is here at the right time at the right place. And as Ravi told you at the introduction, we sell a lot of rootstock, and the reason for that is quite simple, is because they work. It's not because people like Robin Pearl or people like Margaret Barlow or Mitch Lucas. No, it's because our animals work, and they work in a lot of countries, and they give farmers hope and survival where they haven't seen it for many years. So we have built this whole company based on survival first. So when we do our whole genetic selection, it's survival first, growth second. And this is kind of emulating the Ecuadorian model. And I'll give full credit where it's due. It's something that was developed in Ecuador, and we've taken it to the next level. So this is our farm in Florida, and so why do we care? And it's actually quite simple, because I'm a farmer, and I was in the position 2013. I started to have this beautiful facility, and we were just planning to grow shrimp for America, and had zero plans. It was not part of the plan at all to become a breeding company or a genetics company. It just wasn't on our radar. But then we had very poor survivals, and we had to go figure it out. And so, Ecuador has proven that there's a different way to do this. And so we looked at that. We worked with some companies, and got the Ecuadorian animals at our farm, and it just made a huge difference. Now the Ecuadorians, they wouldn't grow, but I saw that between what we were able to get and the new lines, that there was just a tremendous difference, and that genetics played a key role. So I look at this. I come from this from a business actor, but we had a beautiful facility, and we had good people, we had good everything, but our genetics were just not right. So my message to India is okay, if you have something and it's not working, and it hasn't been working, and it's not stable, then maybe you're using something wrong, and you need to change that. We invested in a real genetic program. So one of the things as a farmer, you're busy growing shrimp, and so you assume other people in the industry within other segments are doing their part. And I was very disheartened to find that shrimp was very much a backwater. So when you think of salmon, or you think of poultry, or you think of beef, or you think of that, there was only very few people in the world that were doing a really seriously intense program. So I said, look, we need to develop better stocks. We need to do this. How do we do this? And we made the investments, and we put our money where our mouth is. And if I don't sell one more broodstock tomorrow, and we're just out of the broodstock business altogether, we would still continue doing our broodstock, because I need it for my own farm, because at bottom, I'm my own farmer. And so over the last 4 years, or 3.5, 4 years, we have genotyped over 1 million shrimp. I mean, it's a massive program, and it's we really have been busy. And so even though the last 2 years have been kind of quiet and not really been able to travel and not participate in that, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes on at our farm. And I want to give you an example of why we're doing so much genotyping, because it's really what makes us so much different. Here you go. What makes us different? So whenever we select shrimp, we always find what family has the highest survival, and then we look at growth. So our shrimp do grow slow, and but it's to me, it's all about having shrimp that survive, that we can actually harvest. So we have a DNA-based germplasm management, and so one of the things we do is we minimize inbreeding, and we maximize hybrid vigor. So whenever we cross animals, we try to cross them from very distant genetic parts. The other thing is, and again, it came in my predecessor's presentation, but you need to be consistent. For a farmer, for the Ecuadorians to make the investments that they're making, it's because they've had 2 or 3 crops in a row now, or 4 or 5 years in a row now, and they believe the next crop is going to be good as well. So when you as a farmer have certainty that, oh, I'm going to make money, and no matter what happens, I'll be okay, then all of a sudden you start looking at the future. And I can put myself in that position. When you're every single day, you're putting out fires, and you're just trying to stay alive, and you say, okay, what do I do to make it to the next week? You have no time to plan. And so I can very much relate to the Indian shrimp farmer. He's much maligned. Say, oh, he's doing this wrong, he's doing that wrong. He's just trying to grow shrimp. He's just trying to make money. Okay. At the end of the day, he's trying to survive. He's trying to feed his family. So, having animals that consistently year after year after year give this good production and give good solid profits for the farmer, that is the key. And so one of the things we've seen over the years, that when we sell shrimp, farmers start using it, and they have a little bit of an issue initially, because it's just a different shrimp. It requires different management. But once they get over that, and they say, wow, there's some serious biomass in this pond, they start liking it, and then they start optimizing our shrimp. And again, I received one of the best compliments early this year from a big farm in China. He says, API is not the best shrimp in the world, okay? But for the last 4 years, I've had stable crops, and better and better and better, and it's improving year after year. So it's something that, it's not this up and down and up and down. And we can look at Indian industry, where every year there's a new flavor of shrimp that is like, oh, this is number one, and oh, everybody wants to take this, and everybody wants to take that. And one of the things we've seen with our shrimp in other markets is where there's just a steady increase, because people have reliable crops. And when you have reliable crops, reliable harvest, you're making reliable money, then you're looking at the future. So the two other things that make our shrimp different is that we actually do selection programs, not in the lab or in an aquarium or even in a cage. No, we do it in the actual pond environments with our customers. And then lastly, these are not animals that came out of the SPF program from Hawaii. These are animals that truly came from a new line coming out of Ecuador. So I want to start with that one first. So when you're looking at the animals available in India today, if you look at all the red animals, the red dots, those are the animals that are available in India today. If you then look at the other colors, the light, dark gray, and it's like, those are API stocks. So you can see how we are just operating in a whole different playing field when it comes to that. So the reason why the red shrimp are kind of closer together is because they all share a common ancestry with Hawaii. And nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a great thing, but it's just a much more narrow thing when there's many more genetics available. And so this is just something that was done on the ground in India. I'm sure that other genetic companies have much more variety, but this is what you're finding in the Indian market right now. So it's just different. So I quickly want to go over why we're doing so many testing. And so to give a basic analysis of how we do this. So we'll go to a farm and we'll give them shrimp, and or a hatchery will give them shrimp, and we'll do a baseline count. So on this particular test, we had 5 different families or 5 different crosses that we're testing. And when we did our baseline, we stocked the animals. The next day, we grabbed in this sample 4,867 PLs, and we plated them. We plated them out and we put them, we ran them through our DNA analysis, and we classified them into 5 different groups of animals. So we know exactly that family 1 made up 17.6% of the population, and let's say family 5 was 15.4% of the population. So then we come back when we're ready for harvest. And in this case, we're looking at 22, 24 gram shrimp. It all depends on what your target market is. But on this particular case, we came in at about 22, 23 grams. And we did another sample of the adult proportion of the population. And from here, again, we took a total of 4,830 samples. And then we again classify the animals and figure out, okay, how many of these shrimp belong to family 1, family 2, family 3. And so from there, we can calculate relative survival. And so, which families did better than the other families? And it turns out that, out of all the 5 families, family number 4 did much better than, let's say, family 2, which was lower survival than the other ones. Families 1 and 5 kept their own. Family 3 had somewhat lower survival as well. So as a genetic program where we always select for growth for survival, we would then choose family 4. But we have a problem, because when we do this adult sampling, we also take individual weights of all the animals. And it turns out
4 more minutes, Robbins.
Okay, I'm almost done. So when it turns out that family 2 has much larger shrimp than let's say family number 4. So and this is something that's been consistent. So we've seen over and over again that when you choose the largest animals in a pond, it's almost always from the poor surviving family. So you would never really go select family number 4, but that's exactly what we want to do. And so one of the things we do then is lay it out on a different graph, and you can see family 4. There's animals that were below 10 grams all the way up to 30 grams. So we go and select only those large animals that did have the growth, but they only came from family 4, and we use them for breeding. So we think that genetics play a key part. But as if we go back to the original slide, Ecuador, there's 2 parts, and it's part of the farmer needs, and the farmer needs to do a better job as well. And when I stand at a pond and I say, well, what's your, the farmer's complaining, and I said, well, what's your oxygen level? He says, it's good. I said, he says, my problem is white feces. I said, okay, but what was your oxygen this morning? And he says, the oxygen is not my problem. I have this disease issue. And I said, well, again, what's your oxygen? And they don't know. And he says, well, I have all these paddle wheels. My oxygen is fine. And that's simply not true. You cannot tell what kind of oxygen level you have. So we need to minimize stress, and it starts with oxygen. I mean, that's the whole thing. So you can see from oxygen, you can see what's going on in your pond. You see how high your biomass is, and et cetera, and so on. So I think that the farmer needs to do a much better job of measuring the daily activities. I mean, water quality gets done once a week. Water, there's things that you see. I mean, we do this every single day, and really, it's not that expensive, and it's not that much work. And there's, labor is something that India has a lot of. So I see no reason why this cannot be more. And to the point where I told the farmer, I says, this is not a hobby. This is a profession. You are a professional shrimp farmer, and you're trying to do this. Stop winging it. Do this the right level and do this the right way. You can only manage what you measure. And so there's big programs that we are developing for that to give the farmer the tools that he needs to do that. And well, that's a whole different presentation. So one other thing that I've noticed, and then I'll conclude my talk, is that Indian farmers, it's been well rehashed that Indians don't consume a lot of shrimp, and I know that there's people working on trying to develop that market in India. But I was always under assumption that you guys are selling a tons of small, whole shrimp to China, and that simply isn't true. And it's because of the harvest practices. And so fix that. Get some ice to the pond, make sure that these animals go immediately from the harvest into ice, and then from there go to processing plants, so you can meet that market. Because China is a huge market, and so if India can diversify what it's doing, and it's a brand new thing that it should be relatively easy to solve for you. And so, all right, so doesn't take a genius. You need to focus on survival, tough shrimp, just like what they use in Ecuador, and go back to basics. Don't overstock, manage your farm, do this correctly, and you'll be fine. And always be improving. The thing is that what they're doing in Ecuador, they're improving their systems. They're adding automatic feeders. They're doing different things, and India needs to do the same thing. My last trip, I saw a lot of evidence that this new line that's specially selected in farms for tolerance and for vigor is doing extremely well, and I recommend you look into that. And that's it. And then I get my song. So Robin sends it with a song, and I. All right, so that's my talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin. It was a wonderful talk, and we got to learn few things. I mean, you became a breeder by default. That's one thing, and your approach looks to be quite different from the approach of other breeding programs. These two things have come out, very loud and clear. And coming to your suggestion of selling head-on shrimps to China, I mean, this is a little away from what we're discussing today. I mean, we have to change our buying methods. Basically, the shrimp is bought in India at the farm gate, not at the processing plant. That's the whole problem. We have to start buying at the processing plants, then we can start selling head-on shrimps. And
Right,
we have
right.
we have the proximity to the market, Chinese market, as US is taking advantage of, as Ecuador is taking advantage of US market, we can also take advantage of Chinese market.